Whenever we start to get to know a new instrument, we often fall into the trap of only scratching the surface of what it can do. We learn the basics, we get familiar with those functions, but we rarely go further. The difference between a novice and an expert isn't just about hours of practice, it's also about depth of understanding. Today I'm going to reveal the hidden superpower of the H90. It's called Snapshots and it lets you change your sound at the press of a button. If that sounds good to you, let's get into it. So I've set the H90 up as in my previous videos. We have a stereo coming in from Ableton and a stereo signal going out. At the moment we're bypassed. Now this is a program that I've created. It's in my own list, use list 2, number 4, JK Cryverb. I've got some crystals on A going into a filter pong and it sounds like this. And I have deliberately made it relatively subtle to start with. I have set up the quick knobs here so we can make it more extreme if we want. It's still got a nice, subtle, usable preset rather than something totally extreme. So if I take it back to the sort of, this is my standard, what I sort of want it to sound like initially. Bypassed, and on. And if you want to know how you can set up your own programs on the H90, look at my previous video on that subject. So what I want to talk about today are snapshots. This is what Eventide call hot switches, and it's the ability to have 3 different snapshots of a program at your beck and call immediately, and it's incredibly powerful, and I don't think enough is made of it either on YouTube or in the manual itself. So to set up a snapshot, you press the parameters button and then you hold one of the 3 lights here, P, A or B. You have 3 snapshots per program. So if I hold the P button down here, and what this does, apart from changing the colors to blue, is that it gives you access to 3 parameters on each page, and if you look at the line here under the word filter pong, there are 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of parameters, and we are currently on the B parameter, the filter pong. If you want to get to the parameters on the A program, you just press the button again. That takes you to, sorry, it takes you to P. So there are 3 different levels that you can allocate. So on the program level, there are 2 pages of parameters, and on A and on B, there are 5 pages. So we have 15, 30, 35 different parameters that we can change. Okay, you may know this already. So what does it mean? So what a snapshot means is that you can take any number of those 35 different parameters and change them and tweak them to your heart's content and allocate them to a single switch. So by pressing one single switch, 35 different parameters can change, just like that. So let's give it a go. So on the first one, I want to be quite subtle. I want to be quite close, probably, to the existing parameters. So if I do the program mix level, maybe I'll even take it down slightly. Maybe I'll take the gain up a touch because we're being a bit more subtle on the mix. If we then go to the next page, if we go to the parameters on the A algorithm or the A effect, you press this and it is the crystals. And so to map a parameter to a hot switch, we're currently on hot switch on the left here, the one that is lit red. So if I press that button in, it's on mix 100. So the crystal's on mix 100. So maybe I'll just dial that down a touch. Maybe I will change the pitch mix of the crystals very slightly. And let's see what else we can do. We can change. I want this to be quite subtle. So the verb mix, maybe we'll up that slightly. And then if we go to the parameters on the filter, the wet mix is at 50, so maybe we'll take it down a little bit. The delay mix, maybe we'll change that a bit. And to exit this menu, you press the perform button. Okay, so what does that mean? So at the moment we are on, we're still on the parameters page, so if I just press one of these 3 buttons, we get out to our standard. So this is the standard program that I have created. Bypassed and on. Again, quite subtle. So to access your hot switches, you first press the perform button and it takes you to this screen. So on this screen, where it says active, that is telling you what each of these foot switches is currently allocated to. So at the moment, all it does is turn things on and off, from bypass to active. So if I want to select the hot switch I've created, if I press the light here, it scrolls through. That's insert 1 active, insert 2 active, hot switch 1, which is what I want, which is the one that I've created over here, off. But then if I press it, you'll notice that the sound changes. Now this one is slightly more subdued. So this is maybe something you want on the intro, then you go into the standard one on the verse. The power of this is that you can create 3 versions of your own program and very quickly turn them on and off during a recording or during a performance. So if I then go on and allocate some different snapshots to hot switch 2 and hot switch 3, and I will already go and select these on the buttons so that we are ready, then you'll be able to see the power of this function. So let's choose our settings for hot switch 2. So remember, we press parameters, and then we hold this one of these buttons till it turns a different color, which is now a different color. So if we go with P to start with, we want the mix to be full on, and we do want the gain, I think, to be slightly higher, so it's a slightly stronger effect. In terms of the crystals, again, we can scroll through each. We've got 100% mix, which is right. We'll change the pitch of the crystals on this one, and we will actually leave the pitch exactly where it was. Reverse delay. So we're going to pretty much change everything on this one. A bit more. So this, I'm going to, for the hot switch 2, I'm going to make it more extreme on the crystals algorithm rather than algorithm B, so that we can really see the difference. But I think we do want a little bit more. So if I'm still allocating things to switch 2, it says at the top hot switch 2, if you ever get lost where you are, we'll get the mix up a bit more, we'll change the and we will leave the rest as it is. Okay, so this is us back into our standard setting. So this is our standard setting. So then if we can now see what hot switch 1 and hot switch 2 sound like. You press the perform button. That's hot switch 1, which is almost the dry signal but slightly more subtle. You can only have one hot switch or snapshot at a time. So if I press this one, it'll immediately switch from our first snapshot to our second one. I think actually that sounds very nice indeed. So you can see that you might be in a intro or a verse, you then go into maybe a chorus or a breakdown, and then we'll see how extreme we can make hot switch 3 sound. I've deliberately chosen a program here which I think sounds good, so it's not supposed to sound completely crazy. You can go as crazy as you want, but I like to try and use things which I might actually use in my own music production. Go back to parameters, hold down B, and now we are editing hot switch B. And we will start again with mix, and we will make sure that the mix for the program is at 100%. And this time we will boost things slightly on the way in before the effects hit. And on A, we will go to, no, I think those are all fine. Those are all fine as well. So if you select one, you can see what the standard setting is. And you can then change it. If you don't like it, you just unmap it and it won't make any allocation. So I think here we're going to up things to make it kind of washy and right, this is the filter. Again, let's have more. Let's maybe change the delay. Timing. And this is A, so if we change this as well, we get more. Delay B. Don't really want triplets, so much higher feedback. Mod shape sign, I think is fine. Mod depth, let's have them bigger. Okay, so it's now starting to sound slightly more crazy now. Okay, we'll leave it like that. We are now back. Totally dry signal. My standard program. Quite subtle. Then if we go perform, we get into this menu, hot switch 1, off, 2, off, 3, off. So we have our sort of intro, maybe even slightly more subtle version. There's a slight echo and verb in the background, but you might need headphones to notice. Then the second one is a slightly more extreme. Really quite nice, I think. And then let's see how crazy we made our third version. Okay, quite nice, apart from the excessively quick modulation on the filter. So maybe we'll just go and change that, because that takes away from what is quite a nice effect. So if we go parameters, hold B, and then go to the modulation, maybe speed and depth. Something like that I think sounds better. Okay, so as soon as we get out of perform mode, we're back to our standard. So we then press perform, we get to this screen, hot switch 3. So that's it, a short video today, but a very powerful one. So you can create your own programs on the H90, and then you can create 3 instances that you are really keen, and very quickly go from a subtle version, probably too subtle, but subtle to prove a point, into our slightly more extreme version of a sort of standard program, to our slightly more dreamy breakdown version, which I think is actually really nice. If you want to go back to our standard version, we just turn this off. All hot switches are off. We're back to our standard. We can press select, and we're back, and we can then scroll through all of our various programs that we've created. So I hope you've seen the power of Snapshots today. We've created a program, we've messed around with it, we've got 3 different functions, and hopefully it takes you away from just being a beginner, scratching the surface and only using the factory presets. So if that sounds good, I'll see you in the next video.